Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Armchair Racers podcast. I'm your host, Austin Belke, alongside my host, Kenny Kibbe. Today, the Cup Series goes to Atlanta, but first, we're going to look back at all the racing news and events that happened earlier this week, like the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, and Sebring. Kenny, why don't you get us started off? None of it for real?
All right, here we
Oh,
go. Yeah, you're. I had myself muted, but I digress. Um, yeah, the intro is all good. Anyways, the first the Cup race on Sunday at Phoenix. Martin Truex Jr. had a pretty dominant car, I'd say. Had some, Joey Logano was up there for a bit, but really made. I don't know. Martin seemed to make it look pretty easy. His first win of the season, and it shocked me that he only won once last year. And I think that now that he's got a win early on this year, he's got a chance to kind of blow the floodgates open this season. I think kind of like what he did a few years back. But yeah, I'm not really a Toyota guy, but I like to see Martin win. Yeah, what do you think of the Phoenix race?
it was a good race. I thought it was typical Phoenix. I thought the PJ1, the traction compound they put down, it I mean, it served its purpose to provide like another group of racing, but when it came in, man, it was the only place you wanted to be. And I wish they wouldn't mess with stuff like that because they took a low line one group track and made it into a high line one group track where you had to pull slide jobs and stuff. And I'm not a big fan of when they just mess with it like that and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I kind of wish it would have been a low line track too. I agree with you where like I'm okay if the traction compound kind of gives you an option to go another groove, but when it actually makes it so that is the groove, it kind of defeats the purpose because now it's not. Now it's a one-line track, but it's just the other lane now.
Yeah, and it doesn't really work because it's all banked the same degree.
Right. And but Truex is now the fifth winner in 5 races for the Cup Series, and he didn't lead the most laps, so Joey Logano led the most laps, but he was followed by Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott was in fifth. Kevin Harvick's a solid run, but not what we're used to seeing out of him. He was sixth. Kyle Larson seventh. Byron eighth. Christopher Bell ninth, and Ryan Blaney 10th. Um, we will go ahead and get to the uh, Cup Series kind of preview in a moment, but first, Truck Series at Atlanta. Not a whole lot to talk about with that. It was just complete dominance by the two KBM trucks of John Hunter Nemechek and Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch led over 100 laps, and John Hunter Nemechek led almost the last, or the other 28. He led 21 of them. But yeah, I've noticed two things: KBM dominance and Toyota dominance. Last week it was the top 5 or 6 spots for all Toyotas. This week it was the top 4 for all Toyotas because you had Austin Hill in second and Johnny Sauter in fourth. Um, yeah, I don't know. It was pretty boring and disappointing from my point of view.
But anyways, we'll move on to the Xfinity race, and I didn't watch a lot of it, but I did see Josh Berry get loose, come down, and kill the grass out of turn four.
Yeah, that was a shame because he had saved it, and I I was thinking in my head I knew he was gonna destroy his car if he went through that grass. So I was like, I wanted Josh to go down pit road, but obviously would have gotten a penalty. So I can see why he didn't want to go down pit road. But there was no way he was going to avoid that grass if he was going to miss it, and yeah, just destroyed his car, and so that was a shame.
What was he running before that? I mean, was he competitive like he'd been in other tracks, or just kind of still coming to grips?
I think he was sort of around like 10th ish. He was hovering around the back half of the top 10 like all day, I think.
Which, to be honest, is in that equipment with his talent is a solid run because he's never been on these tracks before. Coming out of doing late model short track stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he did get an opportunity like 15 years ago where he ran some races, but it was very few, and I don't know if like this was one of the tracks he ever ran at. Um, but yeah, the another shocking thing was earlier in the race, going down the backstretch on a restart. Brett Moffitt was on the low side. He got passed by Brandon Jones, and he tried to cut in behind him on the backstretch to slip in line to not get freight trained, and he totally misjudged it and hooked Brandon Jones, and it just wrecked like 4 or 5 cars, including both of those guys. I think Brandon Jones continued. Moffitt was out. I hated that because Moffitt was doing a really good job, and he usually doesn't make mistakes like that. So that kind of stunk. And then later on, there was a restart. Like two guys that were kind of having standout days, Jeb Burton and Jeremy Clements, uh, were both running really well. And Jeb Burton decides to make it like 3 or 4 wide into turn one, and it was kind of a coming together. I guess Jeremy probably moved down a little bit too, but they hit each other, and then I think they both blew tires, or one of them did, and Clements ended up rebounding to 12th, but that pretty much killed Jeb Burton. Yeah, he was 25th. So that kind of sucked too because I was rooting for both of them. Jeremy Clements was literally like a fifth place car yesterday. He was doing really well. Brandon Brown was doing all right for a time, but he kind of fell back. But anyways, at the end, Martin Truex Jr. had been dominating, and under a pit stop under yellow, he sped on pit road, so he had to go all the way to the back and come up to the front, and we didn't really have any other cautions after that, and Justin Allgaier was the leader, and he was quick, and Truex got to second, but he never, and he did have time to catch him, but he just didn't. He kind of stalled out, but he probably wore his stuff out getting there. So Justin Allgaier gets his first win of the year, followed by Truex. AJ Allmendinger ended up fifth, and Justin Haley eighth. Michael Annett seventh. Riley Herbst sixth. Good run for him, and Ryan Sieg snuck into the top 10 in 10th. Do you have any reaction to that race at all? Did you see what happened at the end?
No, no. I was probably at my grandparents' house still moving stuff or taking a nap while watching the Sebring race. I mean, reaction overall to the race, super happy for Justin Allgaier. Not surprised that, Martin Truex Jr. was up there, with, you were gonna have to go through him for the win. I mean, he's Martin Truex Jr., right? But super awesome to see that. Also, how about the fight on pit road? That was crazy. I have seen that a lot.
Okay, so and I want to give a quick shout out to AJ Allmendinger, come up with fifth place with right front damage that they got early on. Austin Cindric also had right front damage from that big wreck with Brett Moffitt. He ended up 13th, but he ended up with some pretty heavy contact. But yeah, so did you see what caused that fight?
Was it just Gregson backing up into Hemrick on pit road?
So the reason why Gregson backed up into Hemrick on pit road, so Hemrick comes into his pit box. He's pitting right behind Gregson. And when Hemrick comes into his pit stall, there's one of the slower cars is coming out of his pits, and he's like right in the way. And so it makes Hemrick, he has no choice but to pull into Gregson's stop. He has to go further. He has to go into his box and then back up into his own. So that's what he did. He pulled in and then backed right up. And this was before, Gregson did have to kind of like wait for him, but it was like there was nothing else that Hemrick could have done, and he did as cleanly as he could. He didn't he didn't hit anything. He didn't hit any crew members or anything like that. And so Gregson's pissed off at this, so he pulls into his own stall, and then while the pit stops are going on, Gregson just backs up into Hemrick's car out of frustration, intentionally. And so that's what Hemrick was kind of mad about, because he poked a hole in his right front, and he didn't say this, but he did kind of endanger one of his crew members too, because he was working on the right front. So I completely am on Hemrick's side on this.
Definitely. I just think it's weird how the fight went down. Like props to Hemrick for going over there and fixing to whoop some ass. I don't think Gregson handled the fight very well. That was a weird way to fight Daniel.
And that's I don't know. That's how all of his fights seem to go, and it's crazy because like you got two guys, Harrison Burton and Daniel Hemrick, who are so mild mannered and really don't have problems with much of anybody. I can only think of one thing. I can think of Harrison Burton kind of had a problem with Paul Menard in a race a couple years back at like New Hampshire. But other than that, no fights or anything like that. But yet, Gregson is able to get them to go over their limit just because he's that big of a jerk.
Yeah,
um,
honestly, I used to like the guy. I'm starting to like him less and less now, and he's digging himself a pretty large hole in terms of like, can Junior continue to give this guy a ride, and are the sponsors really okay with this? And he needs to start turning the ship around. Otherwise, I don't see him driving for certain sponsors for much.
yeah, um, I mean that nine car has a lot of pedigree from Chase Elliott winning a championship in it, and Tyler Reddick, um, and I kept trying to like Gregson, but I can't anymore. I haven't really liked him since he was in the trucks. He wrecked a lot of stuff in there and was gifted a promotion because of it for some reason, and didn't do much of anything in the Gibbs Xfinity camp, and then got moved to one of my favorite teams, which is pretty disappointing. Um, like it just his aggression is too much on and off the racetrack, and he also took in his interview. I don't know if you heard his interview, but he took a shot at Hemrick for like not doing anything in his career, basically, which was pretty kind of a low blow. Which is kind of funny because Gregson's kind of had better opportunities than Hemrick and really hasn't done much more.
Yeah, that is a pretty low blow. But I mean, when you look at all the things Hemrick has done, he's been a solid driver in everything he's been in. I will say though, Daniel Hemrick hasn't done a lot with the opportunities provided for him. However, what are you going to do? It, like his best shot was like RCR, which, not great, but like when Tyler Reddick can come in and outscore you pretty heavily,
Well, I
it's okay.
think
Even Austin Dillon finished 2 spots ahead of him in every race based on how the points shook out in 2019.
yeah, I think Childress Racing is a better team right now than they were then, but I do
No,
agree
no,
that
but
he should have
still
been
though,
probably
you
better.
could directly compare it to Austin Dillon, and it was like 2 spots ahead in every race.
But I mean, he was only a rookie, and Austin Dillon was a 5-year veteran.
I know. I just wanted to see more out of him for him to keep the spot compared to Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, I don't know. I I do think he's kind of like the potential top of his potential is probably the Xfinity series, but at least for now. But
Either that or he's probably a solid Paul Menard driver.
that's kind of
Where
what I
like
was thinking
he can
actually.
get you like a 15th to 25th or something, but he's not going to tear up your shit.
Yeah, unless somebody else tears it up for him, which
Right.
happened a
He can
lot
have his
last
good
year.
days where he gets a top 10 or even a win at the Brickyard 400. But usually he's just going to be kind of there. And if he gets into the chase, like, hey, good job. He's not really supposed to be there, but he did it anyways through consistency.
Yeah. So yeah, we've had Gregson's been in fights now with Harrison Burton, uh, with Hemrick, with Myatt Snyder last year, who he totally dumped at Texas and was just like, oh, it was just air.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
It,
he totally
I
just that was a dump.
I tell you, if Gregson ever gets to the Cup Series, he's gonna if he doesn't like change the way he races, he's gonna get a total ass whipping.
He's going to get his ass handed to him on a silver platter because those guys aren't going to take any shit from a rookie.
No, and I think the more and more people that stand up to Noah, the more this stuff is gonna happen where they're just gonna be like, you know, they're just gonna go over and try to kick his ass. I mean, and a cool thing after that too is there was a camera view of Hemrick like walking away after the altercation. And Harrison Burton came over and gave him a fist bump.
Good. Get them. I mean, it's, I fully applaud people standing up for what they believe in and going to fight the good fight. It's just a shame that Noah Gragson acts the way he does.
Yeah, and some people are like, oh, he wears his emotions on his sleeve, blah blah blah. He leaves it all out there, but it's like when you're doing like dumb stuff like that,
Well,
it's
there's a
not.
difference
There's
between doing that and being a jackass.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Brian has a good point in our chat. He says should get anger management classes like the others that do dumb public shit.
Amen.
Amen. But anyways, yeah, Justin Allgaier ends up winning that. So good for him. I'm really glad he won because he had a terrible season last year and a terrible start to this season. We will move on to the. Let's quick preview the Cup Series race here at Atlanta. Um, do you have your fantasy picks?
I do, yeah. I'll pull them up. So I've got Christopher Bell, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman, Chris Buescher, and Kurt Busch. These are all drivers that I haven't chosen yet. Kind of throwing them some bones. I might change a couple before the race, but for my bonus picks, I've got Keselowski winning. Chase Elliott is your top Chevrolet. Keselowski being the top Ford. Hamlin's your top Toyota. Chevrolet's winning manufacturer, obviously, and Hendrick Motorsports.
So I got dead last in our Phoenix fantasy league with us four last week. So I only scored 150 points, so that put me in the rears for this week. So I'm down to third in the standings. However, I picked William Byron, Tyler Reddick. I can actually pull this up on my screen. William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, and Chase Elliott in the garage. The only one of those I haven't used is Christopher Bell, but I've only used the other drivers once. Um, and the bonus picks, Denny Hamlin is the race winner. Kyle Larson is top Chevrolet. Brad Keselowski's the top Ford. Denny Hamlin top Toyota, winning manufacturer Chevrolet, and Joe Gibbs Racing the winning team. Don't know why. I'm just kind of feeling like Joe Gibbs Racing driver's going to win since Truex won last week. Um, so yeah, there's my picks. It's going to be interesting though. Um, we'll probably get long green flag runs. We'll see. We'll probably have some comers and goers, and this season's been unpredictable, so who knows?
Anyways, we'll move on to Sebring. Kenny, I know you saw a lot more of that race than I did.
Yeah, so I kind of caught up on some things on it, and what I did miss, and pretty crazy race. I mean, Sebring it does usually end up with quite a bit of contact. The cars are bouncing around, and there was like pretty early on, the with the DPIs were battling. There was um, the Renger van der Zande car was the '01 was battling with the 31 Whelen car, and they were approaching a GTD car coming into the last corner. And so the GTD car didn't give a whole lot of room because I don't think he realized there was two cars coming. And so the 31 actually moved to the inside, made it three wide, and Renger took a normal line into the corner, kind of ended up pinching the 31 into the wall and kind of ruined their race. The 31 was completely blaming the '01, but I don't see why it's his fault because he had nowhere else he could have gone. It was kind of, I think it was the GTD car's fault for not going wider into the corner, or even the 31's for trying to force it three wide. Um, and then late on in the race, it was a pretty crazy battle. Oh, we did have a few like pretty hefty wrecks too. A couple GTD cars flew into the like turn two, I think it was,
Yeah,
barriers.
there
Yeah,
was a Lamborghini behind a Mercedes, and the Lamborghini, like, I don't know if he had a brake failure or what, but it looked like he wasn't going to stop. So this guy just like he turned his wheel to the left and tried to cut it to at least scrub off some speed and hit the wall at an angle. But he hit this Mercedes and took it with him, and they hit the wall a ton.
and there was like Jimmy Johnson actually, I think he started the race for the 48 car, and he ended up spinning out in the last turn, which he had struggled with the last turn a lot in like qualifying. He crashed, and
He crashed hard too. That was a
yeah,
hard lick. I mean, that is if you're not pulling up the backup car, you're replacing almost everything on your primary car.
so he spun there and then like kind of caught the right front on a passing prototype car, and so that put them in the rears pretty early. But they did have a pretty good comeback because they did end up third after all that, um, which is pretty impressive. Um, However, though, there was like at the end of the race, there was a strong battle going on between the GTLM cars. You had the Corvette was leading with one of the BMWs in second, and a Porsche, the lone Porsche, in third. And um, going into kind of that hairpin turn, I don't remember what it's called, but uh, BMW made a move, and the Corvette was kind of there, and so the BMW spun the Corvette. They kind of got locked together, and then one car kind of went across the track, and the Porsche was right behind these guys, and he made a really awesome move to miss uh, both of them. Went through the grass and then come out on the other side, basically in the lead, and the Corvette had to pit for repairs. The BMW, I think he might have pitted too. Either that or he just
He had
limped
a
home.
drive through, I believe they said.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
And then the Porsche ended up winning, so that was um, the WeatherTech Racing Porsche, their first win in GTLM because the regular factory Porsche team is not in that series anymore. Um, LMP2 was kind of like up and down. Like there was a one of the leaders had a problem at one time. Um, there was like some of the LMP2s and LMP3s would just like stall on the track. Um, but it was like a lot closer than it has been with those two classes. Like it was less than a lap in between first and second at least. Um, and then in GTD, uh, let's see, it was won by another
FAF.
Porsche. What's that?
The FAF Canadian team.
Yes, the plaid-looking car. Um, but the number nine, I think, uh, Aston Martin dominated that class for most of the race. I do have to say, good run for the all women team. That their new entry into the full time schedule. That's Catherine Legg, Bia Figueredo, which is formerly known as Anna Beatrice, and Christina Nielsen. They ended up fifth place, and they ran as high as like fourth at one time. I think they
I think
did.
they were even third once, but I think they wrecked a car and had to pit for
Yeah, they
server
spun Andy
penalty.
Lally in the 44, and those guys ended up fourth. But yeah, there was quite a lot of contact in that
Did you see
race.
why that LMP2 car, maybe LMP3, just went flipping through the dirt or something? Like
Um,
they destroyed a LMP car.
yeah, I'm trying to think of where was that on the track? Was that in like the first couple corners, or was that in a
I
different
have no
spot?
clue. I woke up from one of my naps to see the highlights, and I just saw that car coming to a stop and just like destroyed.
I thought he just lost it, but I can't remember. I remember like the ending part of the wreck. I don't remember the beginning.
Ah, oh well.
But yeah, I don't know. I It is Sebring. It's a tight track, but I expect more contact at a place like Road Atlanta than at Sebring. There was quite a lot of
It's so noodly too. Like it's
yeah,
just like left, right, left the entire time, and it's so hard to pass. Even if you're in an LMP car or a DPI trying to pass it like a GTLM or a GTD car, it's almost impossible.
yeah. But next race will be in May, middle of May for Mid Ohio, which there will be no GTLM cars at that race.
Which
So
is
it's gonna
weird
be
because
wild.
they've moved Le Mans to be in like August or September, so they could easily show up to that and Belle Isle if they wanted.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyways, we can move on to the iRacing side of things. This week, NIS was at Atlanta, of course, because it follows the Real Cup schedule. And I ran on the Wednesday race, and it was a great race. We had four cautions only in 163 laps. I was in the second split of that day out of 12, and I came in as the number 19 car. I decided to qualify. Qualified ninth out of about 22 that took time, and we stayed up in the top 10 like the whole race. And we were gonna. I was going on a really aggressive strategy where I was short pitting, and I was going to. I think it was gonna like it. I pitted from like 16th or something because I got freight trained on the top side later on in the run, and I was like, we got like 40 laps in. I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna pit. So I pitted, came back out like 10 to 12 laps before anybody else pitted, and I ended up cycling to the lead. And then I got passed by a few, but then by the time I was ready to pit again, it was only like I was only like sixth, so it was a a big gain. And so I pitted again, come back out, and we'd started our next run, but we were going to have to pit again to make the strategy work. And even then, everybody else was not going to have to pit again, and I was probably only going to be able to get up to probably about like 10th-ish is my guess. But then we had a caution, um, and I was in 12th at the time. So it totally destroyed everybody's strategy, but at least kept me in the game. We had a restart and a quick caution after like 4 laps. A bunch of guys in front of me ended up pitting. I stayed out, so I went up to 4th. And then we ran for a while, and I got to the lead. Then we had a caution, and then I pitted with everybody as the leader, and then ended up giving up some spots. I gave up like 11 spots. Oh, Kurt's asking, is it just me, no sound? Well, my microphone is registering on OBS.
Yeah, Brian responded earlier, so I have to.
Yeah.
I'll open up the Twitch broadcast.
Yeah, Kurt says just you. So it is just Kurt.
Oh, okay.
Um Anyways, so we pitted and I went too far into my pit box. So I slid through it, had to back up like twice because I misjudged. Lost like 9 spots, went back to like 11th. And restarted. We got back up to the lead, which really surprised me. But then shortly after that, I got passed and I was in second. This was probably with like 20 some laps to go. And he got to about a second in front of me, and then I actually started to run him down. But then the guy in third was running me down. So at the end, it was like this three-way battle. And I was right on the leader's back, and I was going to try to make a run on the last lap, but the guy in third, dive bombed me and did a slide job up in front of me, so I couldn't do anything and ended up third. But it was a really good run for us. Gained 88 I rating, and we're second place in NIS fixed standings, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you had a good run. I was not a fan of that slide job the guy pulled on you, but that's racing. I guess it's his prerogative to pass you, but that's not the smartest move.
Yeah, I mean, if I were him, I would have like encouraged me and the other guy to get it battling and maybe get together or something like that.
For sure. But that's, it's whatever.
So I'll go. Do you want me to go to Road to Pro, or you want to bounce back
Yeah, I
and
was going
forth?
to say we'll move on to Road to Pro. Kenny and I prepared actually. I mean, I'm not going to say great, but at least pretty solidly for this compared to every other Road to Pro race ever. We got a pretty good setup from a friend, and then we got the JR special for it, and then it handled really well. And I asked Kenny earlier in the day. I was like, "Hey, go out, give me a run." Full fuel run to see A, how many laps we can go in a tank of fuel, and B, what the tire fall off is like. Um, so we did that. We got all the numbers. I typed it into a Google Sheets, and then I made a graph so you kind of see what the fall off was like based on what lap you were on, and then I calculated the lap time compared to the fastest lap time to see like how much time you're gaining. I'd like to do more with that to see when it's optimal to pit. Whether like 3 stops versus 4 stops, that type of deal. So we'll see. I have big plans. I don't know how I will accomplish them, but yeah. So we went in there feeling pretty okay. Um, and Kenny, you had a really good truck, and Jr. was doing really well in his. I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, so we were in the 12th split out of 31. There's a lot of splits. JR was in the 10th split. He was hanging out in the Discord with us while he did his race. And I actually ended up drawing the number 1 truck. So I almost made it to 11th split. And we qualified 11th. I didn't really focus a whole lot on qualifying. And we, we went to the front pretty darn quickly. I was just kind of being calculating with my passes and everything, and we got up towards the front, and we took the lead, and we kind of took the lead at the end of the first run, and then pitted, and a guy undercut us, so we were behind him, but we stormed through the field, got right back up there, kind of traded the lead every once in a while, and then we took the lead and just we were just there leading. One of the front runners got up into the wall, so that kind of slowed him down. And there was really only like 2 to 3 guys that really had anything for us. And JR actually, while we're doing this, JR's giving us updates on his race. He was running second for most of the race. It was like one guy was better than him, and that was about it. But he would run him down later on. And uh, so we ended up, we were pitting, cycling through, and we were basically at the point where we were going to have to pit one more time. Um, and, well, if that. And we were leading. We had just come out of the pits a few laps ago. We were leading. We had a huge gap, too. I don't know if the guys in second or third had gotten,
Yeah.
like had
So
problems.
Well, the guys in second and third had actually decided to undercut the field by a lot. So they went out and got great tires, and then they passed you, not for the lead, but to get their lead back, if you remember when you were racing in that big pack and leading that big pack. So we came in and pit about a lap or two earlier than all the guys we were racing with in that large pack. So we probably put about 5 or 7 seconds on them by virtue of the undercut and the fact we had the lead. And I'm pretty sure they messed up on their pit entry and exit, at least because the amount of laps we undercut them by was not large enough to amount to that lead. So either they hit traffic or had some other issue. Um, but the guys closest to us had undercut, so they were going to have to pit early, and they were going to have to pit one more time than we did, or they were just going to. I don't see their strategy working out. They just got really lucky the way it all sorted out. So we had a huge lead over the second and third most competitive trucks.
Yeah, so yeah, we had passed the guys that had pitted really early, and we were like 3 seconds ahead of them. But then the other fast guys were not even on my relative. And so a few laps into that last run, at this point we had led 60 laps. It was a 160 some lap race. We had about 40 laps to go, so we were pretty much dominant. And there's a group of 3 trucks in front of us, messing around. They were going to be going a lap down. It was like 20th through 23rd spot. It was a pretty competitive race, so that far in we had only gotten that far up through the field with a lot of green flag running. And by the way, we only ended up with 4 cautions in that race. But anyways, we caught up to them. They were bobbing and weaving, and they wrecked each other going into turn 3. I ducked low as far as I could go in that short amount of time because I was right behind them. And I got clipped, well, more than clipped. I got pretty much killed in the right rear. Did a 360 and saved it, but the damage was done. I kept the lead, but had like no drive on the restart. It for some reason gave me like engine damage or something. I had no speed left. So I dropped to the back, and then wrecks would happen around me, and I'd get caught up in them. I ended up limping home 2 laps down, but only in 23rd place. So that's 2 races in Road to Pro, 2 finishes outside the top 20. 2 times when I've been wrecked by people in front of me. It's I've been getting all the luck in NIS and all the bad luck in Road to Pro.
Yeah, needless to say, bud, I don't think you're going to make it into the Pro Series.
Well, I mean, I obviously know I wouldn't get there
No,
through the
you'd have
splits
to
I'm
be in the
in.
top 2 splits to even get close.
But I am curious though, like what like if we had solid finishes for like a whole Road to Pro season, like just where would it put me? You know what I mean? I just wanted to
Yeah,
see
it
where we'd
depends. I
stack.
mean, I don't know. With your split, even if you won, there would still be 11 people that did better than you, at least because they won. And I would have to assume it'd be like two people from split, 11, three or four people from split 10, and it goes up by one person for every split. So at that point,
Right.
it's like, not factorial, but a weird like factorial thing, but you add up the numbers or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious, like if we put together a good season, just like where we would be. I'm just curious.
I'm curious. That was supposed to be what this season was about. Is just if we have good finishes, where do we get put? But apparently, we can't even have those. So
No, can't
we'll
have nice
find out
things.
next year.
Oh, and good morning to Ryan Seneker, who is in our chat. He said
Good
morning.
morning,
Yeah.
Ryan.
Thanks for joining us. But yeah, now we can go to well, just real quick, did want to say with our NEP, we didn't have any NEP because that stuff's done for the week. But we are next, or this coming Monday is race number 1 at Daytona, and you and I, Squibbles Autosport, will be driving the LMP2, and yeah, well, I think we'll have a good shot at it.
I think we'll be pretty good. I think our toughest competition is going to be ourselves. Mainly the fact I'm an idiot, and Tim and Jr. And we'll see. We'll see who else is going to be a thorn in our side.
Yeah, I think John Peters and Evan Bellew or Bollier will be pretty decent, but
They're
yeah.
both really fast. I just don't know how much experience they have in the LMP2s. Now, granted, Kenny and I have decided we're not going to take it too seriously, so if our shit gets junked, it is what it is, and we're just going to practice in the hour they give us beforehand. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, I'm gonna
we're
be.
basically we're here to have fun and fuck shit up.
Oh, I'm gonna drive aggressively. If I see a 3 wide pass that I think I can make, I'm going for it.
Oh, definitely, definitely do it. We're just here to have fun.
So everybody can tune in on Monday to that. That'll be a fun race.
It'll
But
be
yeah,
like this, but stupider and more laid back.
yes. Um, but Austin, you can take us into the BRL weekend with the Friday stuff. I did participate, but I want to hear. Actually, were you even in that?
I was going to say I can tell you about my Friday night, but there's some stuff I got to leave out.
So I will talk about it because I finished sixth in the feature there, and we were at Charlotte dirt track for the dirt street stocks, which is it's a decent track for me. I like that it can be two groove, although it wasn't really a 2 lane track this time. Once the track wore out, like the bottom side was fast, but not fast to pass. And everybody wanted to run the top, and it was just a train up top. So um, we ended up we started sixth and finished sixth. We won, or we got second in our heat, and we just kind of stayed where we were like the whole time. I think for a time we were fourth or fifth, but then just kind of lost one spot there at the end. And Justin Morton, though, I got to shout out to him. He was ripping the top and got all the way up to second. Like he started 10th. He did not do very well in the qualifying slash heats, and he ended up getting all the way up to second. He had two just really really good restarts, and that just drove him up to the front. And he don't think he had anything for Brandon Proudfoot, who won the race and the championship very easily, but he was certainly the best of the rest. William Hargreaves was a newcomer this week. I think he's run with us a couple times. He ended up finishing third. Really good run for him. Billy Northcutt, who's been a newcomer this year, he's going to be a guy to watch next season if he runs the full schedule. He was fourth. Jared Shepard was fifth and second in the points, I believe. And then I was sixth. So halfway decent run for us. I mean, that's kind of where I would expect to be, is around fifth, sixth every week. So we fulfilled that, and we had 3 cautions. Not too bad. It was a pretty fun race. Um, Not a whole lot else happened, at least up towards the front. It was not a lot of passing. So now we can move on to something that you can talk about.
GTRL?
Yeah, go ahead.
Come on. Okay, so we were at Monza this week. No first chicane. pretty baller because the first chicane sucks and it only makes the track dumber. Um, so I mean, you are flying into turn one. But anyways, qualified third. Tim put in an excellent lap to get provisional pole, and then Matt on like in the last like minute and a half, he put in a lap and pipped him for pole by like a half a tenth or something, like a couple hundredths, and that was pretty cool to see. So I was third. I believe Sane was fourth, but he could have been fifth. And the Wolfson brothers were up there too, or at least just Chris. I don't think Ben was there. But regardless, we go into turn one. The Shanowski brothers are side by side. Um, Dive into the turn one or the turn two chicane, I guess. And I think Matt had too much rear brake, so he spun out, went to the side, and then it was just Tim and I, and we had like a within a couple laps like a 3 second lead over Zane and Chris, and like I think 10 laps in, I was mostly just following Tim. Because the draft was a huge factor down the straightaways, so I could just use that to get from like 9 tenths up to like 3 or 4 tenths on him, and I was just riding around because I knew even if I did pass him by a mistake or just a really good corner, he was just going to pass me right back down the straightaway. So I was mostly just hanging out for a while, and then it was a lot easier for me to stay within that like second gap to get a good to get the good suck from the draft down the front stretch. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. So I showed him my nose. I went inside for turn one, and then we're going down to the braking zone, and I think we were even, but I didn't want to be too much of a jackass to him because he races me respectfully, so I wasn't gonna keep my shit in there, and I didn't know where he was, so I checked up, broke a bit early, and I'm not sure if he didn't break enough or if he went in too deep or the car just got upset. Um, but he basically went in too deep, went to the left, went off into the sand, and then once he got into the sand on the left, he just spun out towards the inside. So checked up for that, and then I think I had like a 3 or 5 second gap to him. So I was pretty much just clear sailing out in the lead. And I'd seen Tim doing that, kind of making not mistakes, but diving into that first chicane a little hard. Um, so I knew if I just, you know, broke early and maximized my chicane exit, I do pretty good compared to him and how he was driving it. And when I say messed up, I mean we're talking like it wasn't perfect, which for Tim, he's pretty much perfect every time. So we go to pit. I come out of the pits, and I don't know why. I guess Chris said he spun out entering the pits or something. But I went from having a 3 or 5 second lead to a 15 second lead, and then I wasn't sure if I took enough fuel, so I was just kind of babying it all around the track. And I didn't want to spin out and ruin my race and throw away a win. So I really just let Matt Shanowski. Great recovery by him and Tim. They both had fantastic recoveries. Tim even actually ran out of gas because he like forgot to pit once, I think. So he came in late, coasted in the pit road, got his fuel, and left. Um, and yeah, Matt run me down, I think 9 seconds before the end of the race, or something, maybe only five. I don't know math, but yeah. So good race. It's always fun racing them.
Yeah, since the other Saturday stuff is done and I'm taking a break from the Saturday night stuff, I might start running more of those GT races if I don't have anything else going on through the summer. Um, it's yeah, it's fun. Those are intense battles.
You could get you a win, man. I mean,
Yeah, I kind of need to. I'm the only
show up,
Western
be
PA
fast.
guy. Only Western PA guy did not get a win in that series, I think. So it's kind of like an
Well,
initiation.
circle Long Beach because Chris was dominant at Belle Isle. We're not sure if it's the car or his talent. I thought it was his talent, but they were saying it was the car, and I think Chris is okay with that idea. So Long Beach could really be your shot, but you'll have to go through Chris.
Well, we'll see. Um, but we'll get going on to the Saturday stuff this week. It was championship weekend for BRL, um, and we were at New Smyrna. Tough track to pass at. It's a track where, like, at least in my mind, the fastest line is like you enter in high, slow down a little bit early, and then you cut down the track. But you have to be careful because you can wear out your front tires doing that. Um, but that's kind of the fastest line to run. But then to pass, You can get to somebody's outside, which that was doable in the street stocks. But really, in the other two cars, the mods and the Grand National cars, you kind of have to get to their inside. And just, you have to make the worst line work. And so in the street stocks, I had to start back in 10th. We only had a 14 car field.
And we only had like 8 or 9 cars last week, so if you were one of the first people to not race last week that showed up, you were going to start like 10th or ninth or something.
Right. Yeah, it was a 10 car field last week. So I ended up starting 10th, and we just kind of made our way through the field. There was 5 cautions, which was kind of disappointing in a 40 lap race. Really intense battles like with JR and with Donnie, and so we kind of stormed through the field, and I got position on JR because I was behind JR, but he went low to pass. I think it was, I can't remember who he was trying to pass, but I ended up following the person on the high side, and I got past JR, and then we got past the other guys and got up into the lead. And so we were leading at the end, and we actually led over half of the race, 21 laps out of 40. And um, we got into the lead, and we were running away because JR had to battle for second place, and we were gonna win. It was gonna He just wasn't gonna catch me in time. And then with like 7 laps to go or something like that, maybe even less, we got a caution, and um, I was like, well, this is over. It's over because you can't pick the lane that you start in our leagues, and so you have to be on the bottom as the leader. And the thing is with these street stocks is they don't accelerate good enough to even so where even if you get a launch on the guy next to you, it's really hard to even clear them because unless they're completely sleeping, and JR is not going to sleep on a restart. So with just a couple laps to go, we take the restart, and of course I get a good jump, but he's able to stay next to me. And we go down turn one. We're side by side for the whole first lap there, and we're coming to the white, and we're side by side, and then a caution comes out, and we had crossed the line to take the white. But they didn't let us race back, so JR ended up beating me by like half car length. So that was pretty disappointing. But still, second place it's a good run, but kind of had that one ripped away from us. How was that race from your perspective?
It was pretty good. I went in there trying to get P3 in the championship. I was racing Joe Segala. I went in with a 2 point lead, so as long as he only beat me by 1 spot, I was going to retain it. If it went down to 2 spots, we would have gone into the tiebreakers, and I hadn't looked into all that stuff whatsoever. So I kind of went in there on a mission. Joe started, I believe, on the pole or at least second, and I started, I think, fourth or yeah, probably fourth. Um, we went out. I was racing Joe. I passed him. He got shuffled back a bit further, and then he got in a wreck, which really killed his momentum and his chances at P3 in the championship. And then the race went on, and Donnie got really loose in turns 3 and 4, and I thought he was going to go up high, but he managed to save it. So I went on his inside after while he was saving it, and Jason Menda was on my inside. So we were 3 wide coming up off the corner, and I was trying to give Donnie room in case he was still, loose, as I didn't want to be a jerk to him. Jason kind of come up into me off the corner, and I hit Donnie, bounced back into Jason. I think he was clear, but I think I took Brennan Myers with me into the inside wall in the front stretch. Really killed our run. That really pissed me off because, like, we had it. We just had to not do stupid shit. And sure enough, the stupid shit either was done by me or happened in front of me just by virtue of, like, iRacing. So we come out. Luckily, there was a quick dash to the end before I think we got another caution. And I was racing Joe, and I knew like if he beats me by 1 spot, that's okay. But if he beats me by two, we're probably dusted. So we went out there on the last run. I made sure he was only 1 spot ahead of me, but coming out of turn four and like the last green flag lap, there was a wreck ahead of us. So I knew I needed to check up, but I didn't want to stop because I knew Joe would probably keep going. not check up as hard and get that other spot. So it was a tough place to be in. Luckily, we got it, so we finished P3. Pretty cool. Um, I know we're not competitive enough to really fight for championships in any of these leagues, but to get as close as we are, to getting on the podium or getting one of those things is always pretty cool. And it's nice to see where we shake out compared to the rest of the field. So that was a fun race. Glad to see you were back this week. I guess we'll go on to the tours. I'll start with the tours because I think I started second last week. Joe started on the inside. There was another battle for P3 in the championships, I believe, um, or at least between Joe and I. I'm not sure if it was for the podium and we knew it then, but it was for sure a close battle for like third or fourth, I believe. So Joe had me beat by 6 points, which is a damn shame because the two penalties I got early in the season really killed us. They gave me a 5 point penalty, which is 5 positions. Um, but I was stupid, so I guess I deserved them. But technically, were they really penalties? Really, actually, no. But it's whatever. So he had me beat by 6 points. We came out of that race. Um, with less than 6 point of a difference. So that really pissed me off for getting them penalties, but it is what it is. We go down to turn one. Joe had a fantastic start, but he went into turn one. I don't know if he had problem or just was feeling the car out, but I got to his outside and I passed him for the lead, and I led for I think 20 laps or something until Justin Morton came up and passed me for the lead, and then we were racing probably like 30 more laps, and then I see Justin hit the wall in the front stretch, and then down the back stretch, he just like went low, hit the inside wall, alt F forward. And apparently his VR went out, so that sucked because he was gone, like he had checked out. So then I was put back in the lead, and I had the Kenny Kibbe behind me, um, and yeah,
That was a tough pass to make. You were doing a great job, just holding your line. And like I said earlier, it's so hard to pass there.
I was trying not to look at my mirror other than to make sure I wasn't gonna be a jerk to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like kind of a habit to build. And it's hard to do because you kind of in a way have to trust that you're not going to get run over. And but you will go faster if you look up in your if you're not looking in your mirror and you just look ahead and just try to run your line. Um, and so I was trying to get you to make a mistake. I would get right up on your ass, getting into the corners, but then let off just a little bit early so I wouldn't run you over. But um, I tried to make the high side work first, and it just wasn't working. The front tires just didn't have the grip in the middle of the corner. So I was like, well, I'm gonna have to just go to the bottom and hope that it sticks. And it did. It took like probably a lap, side by side to get by, but we did, and then we were able to hold out. Like we ran away before JR could finally get into second. You guys really battled it out pretty hard for that second spot, and by the time JR got into second, it was way too late, and we ran away with it. So 14 car was able to pick up a win in that series. Only 11 cars this week, but we started 10th and we got up to first. So it was a pretty good run, uh, man. But yeah, I didn't think I was gonna have anything really at the end because I was driving really hard for the majority of that race. I don't know why, but with these tour mods, I just give them the beans. I just really don't conserve. But
I don't know how to drive them without giving them the beans. I know,
yeah,
because you go into the turn and you brake, but the rear end just wants to slide, and it's such a weird slide because it's so controlled. But at the same time, it's like if you throttle up at the wrong point, you're just going to spin out. So they're really odd beasts, especially on some of these tracks. Pretty much every track it does that, where the rear end just slides, and it's just okay with doing that, but you tear up your rear tires. I saw in that race too. There was a weird checkup when Donnie like wrecked or must have had some kind of like error. Um, Hardware wise, and he spun out down the backstretch. And we all checked up. JR checked up, and you didn't. And he put him into the corner, and he did a sick drifto.
yeah, I was. Well, I saw it up ahead, And I saw early on, I was like, he's out of the way. So I kept going
No,
full
like Donnie's
bore.
smart enough to not come up into the field and wreck us all.
Yeah, and like he was already down out of the groove, and I'm like, okay, we're good. No caution. I'm gonna keep going.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
my foot was to the floor. Like even if he did come up, like like hey, that's just the gods telling me like maybe you shouldn't win this race.
so I
I'm gonna lose the lead at some point anyway.
yeah, so I went full bore down in there, and I didn't expect that checkup, so I was right on JR's ass, and he checked up, and I hit him, and I was like, oh crap, I so then I checked up to let him try to save it, and he did, and I don't know how he did, and it was kind of funny because he was laughing over the radio when I apologized, but I don't think he would have been laughing had he not saved it, but
Probably not. No.
luckily we don't have to find that out. Um,
So yeah,
so
but you caught up to me and you were racing me pretty hard. Um, and then the caution came out, and I was like, I'm okay with this, I think, because I can probably get a good enough restart. But I kind of knew you were going to pass me at some point, and you've been getting closer and closer to doing it every lap, just by virtue of just staying on my ass. So the caution came out. I got a pretty good restart. Like I had cleared you before at least turn one, I think, and I was just doing a really good job of taking care of my tires on off the restart. I thought because they weren't making a lot of noise. I figured it's just because they were cooled off. But I wasn't going in the corner and just chirp, 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 chirp. It was just it was. So I was like, all right, we got a rhythm now, boys. We can do this. And then like 3 laps in, they started doing that, and I was like, ah, jeez.
Z squibs.
Oh,
Yeah, but yeah, the with those higher power cars, the leader actually, still has a good advantage on the restarts at that track. Those street stocks, you have no power and you just can't get
no, no,
out.
it's not enough power, and they're so sluggish off the line.
Yeah.
You can, if you're decent, you can at least try to get even with the guy. But unless you're in a car like the Tour Mod or the Grand National car, you can't get a big jump.
Yeah, so uh, we ended up. I got underneath you, and I thought, this was a make or break moment because if I wasn't going to make that pass happen, I was going to go at least back to third, and it was going to be probably my race over. I had to make that pass work, but I'm glad I didn't like shove up into you or something because it's really easy to do that, and I knew you were going to
It
race
would
me
have
hard
been
for it.
racing. It's just racing. When it comes to you, you've never done that before. There are certain guys who every time they pass me or try to make a pass, they will door the shit out of you. And I don't know if they don't know what they're doing or not, but like you never done that. So if you did it, would have been like, all right, you too, buddy. Guess we're not doing a podcast. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a good battle, good race. I'm glad I was able to show up for the last three races of the season. And JR again, he won the Street Stock Championship and he won the Modified Championship. And then we move on to the Grand National Series.
What a special podium though in the tours for the last race of the season. I thought it was pretty cool being on the podium with you guys.
Well, yeah, the Different Path Motorsports crew
Oh,
and
have
me.
you been signed, Kenny?
No, no,
Oh,
it's you guys and me.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so we move on to the Grand National Series, and coming into to this race, I was 8 points behind JR, so I needed to beat him by 9 positions and to get the championship. And I was going to start fifth, and JR was going to be 12th because he finished outside the top eight last week. And I actually got a gift because Kurt Smith was going to be on the inside line. He had an EOL from last week, so I actually moved up to third on the start on the inside line. And so I had Adam Shane and Jason Menda in front of me, and I wanted to be aggressive and get to the lead early and then just kind of control the pace. And we weren't able to do that at first, but we got a really good restart on the I think it was after the first caution, and we got to the lead pretty quickly, and then we just held it to the end. But it wasn't really that simple because Justin Morton got up to second and rode around behind me, and he knew that I was going to be aggressive to try to keep this win. And I kind of had some brownie points with him already because of how cleanly I raced him at Lucas Oil last week. So he was not going to do anything dumb, and he knew I was trying to get the championship. So he just kind of rode back there. I guarantee he was trying to obviously pass me, but he wasn't going to do anything crazy. And JR was, I think he probably had some wrecks to avoid at the beginning because there was some cautions early on.
I don't know if he did or not because I'd always like there'd be a wreck, a caution would come out, I'd look in my mirror and I would see his car and just like, oh, my boy.
Yeah, so it took him a while, but he eventually got up into the top. Like once I saw he was in fifth, I was like, okay, he's probably in the clear now. And so then he got up to fourth and then third, and he rode around behind Justin for a while. And I think at the end there, Justin's tires really started to give way, and JR got by him. Um, but then we had a pretty good lead going, and then at the end we had a dang caution, and we were gonna have another 2 lap shootout. And I was like, oh, here it is again. They're gonna rob me of it. And but I was gonna try really hard. I was getting really good restarts all night long in that car, and I was gonna be aggressive to take away that top line because I made the mistake last season at this track where I gave JR the outside, so he drove it in hard and was able to stay on my right rear and stay next to me and make the pass happen. So I wasn't going to do that. If I was going to clear him for just a second, I was going to move up. And so we cleared him. I moved up, took the line away, and then just kind of drove away for the last couple laps. But again, JR was points racing. He was not going to really be super aggressive to make a move. So I kind of that worked to my advantage. But yeah, we were able to lead 94 laps and win our last race for a while, and quite a good way to close out for me personally. Driving BRL for a little while with 2 wins in a second, kind of going out the Matt Kenseth style. So yeah, it was a good
Although
weekend.
you do plan to be back and he didn't know what was going on in his life.
Yeah, I mean, I plan to take 2 seasons off and I'll be back just like I did last year. I had 2 seasons on, 2 seasons off, just a way for me to have a break and I'll still be around. I still plan on running the Friday night stuff on dirt, uh, possibly the trucks or super late models, and possibly some of the GT stuff on Saturday mornings. Kind of depends on what I'm doing that week. I'm not really gonna run for a championship anywhere, um, but yeah, I'll still be around. Um, but anyways, I'm curious. You had some problems in your race, and you actually had some internet issues. But how was the race going like before that point?
Before it was going pretty good. I was saving my tires really well. Had a couple good battles with Adam Shane. He actually had a great run. Congrats to him, by the way, on getting P3. That was a phenomenal job on his part. But yeah, started fourth. The first corner really just didn't go our way. You got by us, and then I was fifth. Um, and then off the second restart, I think I passed one person to get up to fourth. And then on the next restart, by virtue of starting on the high lane was really where you wanted to be in the Grand National cars. And if you could get close enough to someone, you could kind of get up to their rear bumper in the middle of the corner so that they heard the spotter say there's one outside, and then they'd have to give you the line coming off the corner, or put both you and them in the wall. So you could kind of get close enough to do that. So I passed Adam on the high side, and then the next caution come out like too quick. I mean, we are just if I can get screwed over by starting in a bad lane when a caution comes out, it's going to happen pretty much every time. Um, so we restarted third. He was fourth. He got by me on the high side. I tried to, just save my tires and see what happened. And then JR got past us, put me back into fifth. And then we had that short run, and I could really, I don't know what everyone else is doing, but I was like, get on the brakes. My tires didn't do anything stupid. Just get it slowed down in the corner and try to turn up off of it. It took everything I had to try and hold on to fifth with Todd on my outside and JR and Adam ahead of me, because I was really going to get fourth if a caution did come out or to see what happened. I kept fifth, which was okay, I guess, and then my internet just like stopped, like my quality bar went straight red. Everyone on my screen disappeared, and then TeamSpeak said user disconnected or like reception lost or something, and then it just kicked me out. Like I couldn't even rejoin through iRacing. It just kicked me out because my internet completely died. The Ethernet symbol on my PC went out, and it was like the no internet symbol or whatever. And yeah, like it just the router just like nah for like a good solid 2 minutes. Um, and I closed out of the iRacing thing, and when I finally got internet back on my machine, I opened up the iRacing UI so I could join it through there faster. I don't know if it was faster, but I joined. I was 9 laps down, and there was only one more caution. I joined to see Joe spinning out, so I was like, "Oh yeah, there's going to be a caution," and he just kept going. So that kind of sucked. But good for you because you were in the lead. Don't mean to make you do another restart. But I came out and I was like 2 seconds ahead of you guys, and I don't know why, but my tires just were shit. Like I don't know if it was by virtue of like disconnecting or what, or maybe how I was driving after I got back in there, but my tires just didn't want to do much for me. So, I mean, I could kind of keep pace if I was perfect, but if I wasn't perfect, you guys were catching me by a tenth a lap. So, once you guys got close, I just pulled down to the inside on the straightaway and let you guys go by. Um, and that was it. And then we had, I think, with 4 laps to go, maybe 5 or 6, we had a caution to do that 2 lap shootout, and and yeah, that was it. But I mean, we had a good run before that. New Smyrna isn't one of my best tracks, which blows because it's on the schedule for next season too. But but we'll see.
Yeah, it's not my favorite track either. We've been pretty decent there, but I don't enjoy it per se.
It's got good character for certain races like this where you have to enter high and cut back low, or you just make the bottom work every lap, and you can do that, but it's not the fastest. But it's certainly, if someone could get to your outside, they'll pass you pretty easily, um, which sucks, but we'll see.
Yeah, I wear my tires out too much if I run that bottom the whole way around. I end up getting on the throttle too early and it just pushes up. Whereas if I diamond it, I kind of have a better idea. I drive straighter off and can get on the throttle harder and uh, not have to worry about pushing up. Um, but yeah, it kind of stinks for you going into next season. If you run the first week, that you'll have to be on the outside of the top 8, which kind of sets you back a little bit. But um, hopefully, you can have a good points run next season if in the races that you run, I suppose.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, on Fridays, I plan to do a every other week thing, but if something comes up, I might miss. 2 weeks in a row or something, or 3 in a row. I don't know. But if nothing's going on in my personal life with friends and stuff, then obviously I'll be down to run again. I plan to be there this Friday, but something came up and I was like, okay, I guess I'll leave my house.
So,
So
we.
we'll see. I mean, I should be able to do at least one spot better because you won't be there.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like. Well, JR says he's going to miss races and then sometimes doesn't.
I mean, I'm sure being an adult, and it's springtime going into summer, he'll probably have to miss a race. But I really feel like it's the time to shine for people that aren't out and out right the fastest. So if JR misses a week, Justin already said I think he might miss a week, and he's the third best in the series as far as I'm concerned, or at least fourth. So maybe James misses a week, and then if that's the case, it is all hands on deck to see who's the champion
Yep.
because it'll be really close. Because like James missed this last week, and I couldn't even pass him in the point standings because he had a 40-point lead over me, so I'd have to win, and then at that point we just tie, and he'd probably get the tiebreaker for finishing second more often. So it didn't matter.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But best of luck to you guys, and I'll be tuning in for sure. I'll definitely watch live broadcasts back and stuff like that. So I'll be keeping up on it. Um, Sad news. Our favorite uh, section of the week, Rusty's Retro Races. There's actually no race to cover this week.
Like, well, why?
Well, yeah, Rusty said no race tonight if hadn't guessed.
Ah, yes, okay.
So I do not know why, but um, We can cover Darlington from last
Yeah, I was
week.
gonna say we can go over Darlington.
Although he didn't.
There's no new race.
Did Brian fill in the stats? Because the sheet that I have does not have the updated stats. Okay.
We can go over our picks though. Kenny's pick
Yes.
beat my pick by a couple spots, even though Sterling Marlin was like a lap down and beat up early on.
He was like
But
23rd or something like that.
yeah, but sure enough, Morgan Shepherd decided to have a shit race and drop the ball. But Kenny's dad picked Neil Bonnet to win, and by golly,
He won the damn thing.
what a guy!
Yeah. I don't, gosh, I don't remember exactly all of the results. But
There were
yeah.
a lot of wrecks though.
Yes, yes, there were. And like Darlington, like if I get back into my 1998 season, Darlington is the next race I have to do. And it's, that is a tough track. Like to run with AI who are unpredictable like that, and just kind of like want to run their line. It is really tough to race against them, and it's tough to even just race the track. So yeah, we'll see. I've been trying to get back into my '98 season, but I've been having technical difficulties with it because something along the lines of like either an update or probably more like because of my monitors. NR 2003 wants to crash every time I get in the car now, so I have to figure that out before I'm going to do any races. But yeah, I guess we won't pick any drivers for next week or this week because we haven't gotten to the next race yet. Um, but yeah, so far we picked in 4 races and I've won all 4 of them, right?
I thought I won the first one.
Let's see. Well, at Richmond, who did you pick at Richmond? That was the first one.
Oh, well, okay. I picked Darrell Waltrip at Richmond, and I think he finished second, and Neil
Oh
Bonnet
yeah, yeah,
eighth.
yeah,
That's why you were able to pick first the second week.
yeah. You picked Daryl and finished third, and Neil finished seventh.
So
Yeah,
we're
that's
we're
right.
on the third race, fourth race of picks, but we're not going to pick today. You've won 2 out of the 3.
Yes. Um, and I don't remember where the next race is either, but I guess we'll have to find out next week. Ah, geez, I closed our outline. I gotta open that back up.
Ah, damn it. Sorry, damn it.
Damn
The
it.
next thing was the video game section. I played Siege because there wasn't like a new update or whatever come out. I you guys know I don't like the game. I just play it because the boys from school play it. I played some GTA 5. That was it.
Yeah, I've been watching more BattleBots. We finished the uh, newest season that just finished up, and then we've been going back and watching season 3, and we're gonna watch season 4. We're not quite halfway through season 3 already. They're shorter episodes, but it's fun show to watch if you're into watching people engineer robots to destroy each other. It's kind of cool. I've been thinking about getting into like a some of my sports games again, and I know that in April I think it is when MLB The Show comes out, which it will be for Xbox this year. So,
You should stream it
why?
so I can watch.
Well, my quality of like skill is gonna be so much worse
That's fine. Put it on easy
than
difficulty.
uh
Get a sound box. Play the funny sounds.
well, and then I have to hook it up to my computer somehow.
My life is boring. I need entertainment.
Jeez, you got Brian. He's the best streamer in the world.
I know, but sometimes if Brian doesn't feel like it, there's no stream. And I can't be mad because people go through stuff where they don't want to stream.
Jeez, there are voids.
Yes, there are.
Anyways,
You can be my side streamer.
um, we will see. I'll give it that. Um, but yeah, not much in really the video game spot. There's no real good new games coming out too, other than that game next month. Like there's usually 1 or 2 like decent games that come out in April or in the springtime, but really it's the fall, like late summer and early fall, and into that where the good games get coming out. But did you end up putting down that ransom review?
I did, yeah. Just, I mean, it kind of goes back to like the last two wrecks we've had in Road to Pro and just other stuff where it's like you can't be that stupid, you know? Like, you have mirrors usually all the time, even in real cars. Like when I'm in my Camaro, I'll mirror drive. Not mirror drive to block people, but I always check my mirrors to know kind of what's going on or if people are there all the time. So if I need to switch lanes, I know it's open, where I can take a quicker glance than normal to know if I can change lanes. And even in the race car, I mean, you're checking your mirrors all the time to see what's going on. So, and just, I mean, the, when we racked on Thursday, it was by people racing for like 20th position, and like, what was the point? You're racing this hard for 20th position. I know you can't be a pushover, but like, guys, the leader's behind you, probably give them a line to get through or just sort this shit out because you don't, no one needs a couple dipshits to ruin the race for a bunch of people, especially not the leader. And you even took your time getting up to him because you knew they were going to be stupid. So it's just stupid. And the week before that, it's like, oh, I can't get lower on the track. Like, well, dumbass, your tires are 20 laps old. This other guy's got new tires. He's passing you on the outside. You cannot possibly expect to drive into the corner and make it stick like he is. So, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's yeah, lap cars causing issues is just it's one of the worst things that can happen because it's not even for anything. You know, if you're racing for position and you make a bonehead move, that's one thing, but when you're a lap car, um, it's even worse. Uh, Now, granted, they were racing for position with each other, and if I was going to pass them, they were all going to race for the lucky dog spot. But it's like, I'm pretty sure I had a decent amount of space before I was going to catch another lap car. So really, these guys could basically let me go, or at least not do stupid stuff for a minute. I'll pass them, lap them all, and then they can just kind of go at it again like they were. And really, were they even going to mount to anything? We had 40 laps, some laps left, and they had worse tires than me, and they were just slow anyways. It's like, you know, I don't know. You got to concede at some point. Or at least, like, just stay off each other. Like, there's no reason to be hitting each other going down the straightaways and down into corners and stuff on a mile and a half. I don't know. I
And
just,
even after that, like, guys, I don't know what kind of truck I have, so I'll be low on the bottom, so try go around me. And then people were not aware you said anything, so they just wreck.
yeah, so after I was wrecked the first time, I restarted first on the bottom. And I said, I keyed up. I said, guys, I'm probably going to be down on power. I'm going to stay low. You guys go high. And sure enough, as soon as we restart, I was slow. I was like, all right, I'm gonna stay low. So I'm
You
I'm
you
low, but
were
I'm
you were wrapping the bottom. I mean, painting
yep.
that line.
I was on the bottom. I was still on the track, but I was on the bottom. And everybody's passing me high. But then we get to the back stretch, and one guy decides to go on the apron around me, which kind of pissed me off already. But we would have been okay. However, there was a guy on my outside who I think we were like 3 or 4 wide, and he just completely cuts me off before he's even clear of me. I'm holding a straight line, and he wrecks half the field because he cuts off in front of me, and I end up turning him because he turned himself, but
He turned himself. According to him, there was a checkup on the high line, so he just decided to go low. But he took more room than he needed, and he also could have checked up down the backstretch because there's still like 60 laps to go. So again, that's just lacking awareness and being dumb. But he didn't need to do that.
yeah, it was. And then we got wrecked by some other guys because I ended up like we had a green flag run, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay high, so I'm up high, and these two guys were racing side by side, and one guy wanted to use a guy as a pick or use me as a pick to make a pass. And the other guy wasn't having it, so he just drove right through me, and then we all wrecked again. It's just lack of awareness and like knowing the space that your truck is taking up, and then just stupid aggression. Just like I didn't really care because my race was already done, but it's just
Well, it still hurts your SR. I mean, you lost
yeah,
point 32 SR, and you about damn near got disqualified, or at least had to do your drive through, because you had 12 out of 17 X.
yeah, yeah. That was Whole bunch of stupid. I think I ended up involved in all but like one wreck in that race after going so long, being so clean in that race. It's kind of crazy that like the races that I ran in the back at the beginning, I had to dodge all this stuff at the beginning and then got up to the front and had a clean finish. And then we have a race where we actually start up near, kind of near the front, ride around in the front all day, and then that's the race we end up being wrecked in. Just kind of doesn't make sense. But yeah, anyways, we have ranted. Uh, I know Austin has finished a model, and I will have to see if I can pull that up. Did you end up putting that in the modeling Discord?
Brian's, yeah.
Okay, I'll pull
So
that.
yeah, so getting around to it, I got around to finishing up the Dale Earnhardt model, the One Tough Customer Wrangler 1987 car. I messed it up because I forgot that the line on the bottom of the door went down to let the three kind of sit in there with some yellow underneath. So that's messed up, but you can't really tell too easily. I don't know what car I'll do next. It'll probably be Dale Earnhardt, but we'll see. Could also be a Ford like Alan Kulwicki or like a Lake Speed car. The problem is I don't have any of the 1995 Fords, so I might go with a 1992. And you can't really tell because they're the same, but it'd be cool to make a spam car. Of course, Lake Speed is the best driver of all time. If you consider Ayrton Senna to be the best driver of all time, because when they were kids in karts, Lake Speed beat Ayrton Senna. So,
At the World
he's the best driver
Championships.
to ever live.
Yes. Now, what was messed up about the number on this?
Well, if you look at the real car, the blue line on the bottom kind of gets thinner and goes further down to allow the three to like nest into it. I just painted the line straight,
Ah,
so the
okay.
three overlaps.
Well, that's not that big of a
It's pretty
detail.
nitpicky. I
Yeah.
don't know why I didn't think about it, um, but still.
Well, it looks good though. I like these 80s cars. I think these cars are probably like the best looking cup cars ever.
I like them. They go together nice. It's hard to put the wheels on sometimes, so it sits right. But
Yeah,
I'm enjoying this hobby.
that's cool. Yeah, if once Brian finishes some stuff and posts more pictures, I'll have to like when he has some finished cars, I'll have to
Oh
post
yeah,
his
we're
pictures on
definitely
there.
gonna look at his cars.
Yeah, for
Fine.
sure. But well, that's cool. So you're thinking probably do you actually you have a bunch more models, right?
Oh yeah, I've a ass ton of them. Like
Okay.
they're all out in the garage. You just have to go get them. I've got two in the bag next to my modeling desk, so I guess I could do Buddy Baker's Gray Ghost from I think the 80
Ooh.
Daytona 500.
Yeah, that's the one that he won. If that's what you're thinking, yeah, that was
Yeah,
the.
yeah, it says it on the box, a Daytona 500 winner, so I could do that. I also bought decals to change my Ricky Rudd Tide Lumina into a Dale Earnhardt Lumina. Um, so I could do that. Want to do some other stuff,
That was the
but
fastest average speed Daytona 500 ever. Was
1980.
1980. Yep.
Yes, sir. So I could do that one. We'll see.
Yeah, that'd be a cool car to do. There was a late model by Josh Brock, I think it was. He came to Berlin Raceway for the Battle of Berlin when I went there in 2019, and he had a Gray Ghost throwback scheme on his car. It's pretty cool.
Yep, one of the other ones in my box is like a 1983 or 84 Cale Yarborough Hardy's car, but I really want to make it into Darrell Waltrip's Pepsi Challenger. But the one with all the yellow on it, because I like that one more. It's just going to be a real pain in the butt to mask it all off and paint it. So we'll see.
Yeah. My dad says the car looks sweet, and yay for Neil.
Well, thank you. And yeah, that was an excellent pick.
Yes, he is 1 for 1. It was pretty impressive. We'll have to get back with him for next week's race. And but yeah, I think that just about does it. I think we got Atlanta race to watch today for the Cup Series, and then it'll be Bristol Dirt next week for all the NASCAR stuff. So that'll be
Going to be a big one. We're going to have a lot
yeah,
to say about it, I'm sure, leading up to and after the race.
yeah, and I believe I can double check this real quick, but I believe the NIS is going to Bristol Dirt. I don't see why they wouldn't since the track is in there.
Get ready to get dirty, Kenny.
I think I'm gonna have to ask the help of John Hine. He offered to spot slash help me out for that race, so that'll be pretty cool. I just want to confirm before I end the stream that we are going to the dirt version. Yes, we are. Yep, 125 laps. Kill me now.
So is there no heats, or is that just outright 125?
I think it's just an outright 125, and I hope that they wouldn't actually have like a full field of cars because I don't even think they're gonna have a full field for the feature in the real race. I think it's only gonna be like 20 some cars for the feature. So I don't know what they're gonna do.
We'll see how they do it. I know they're talking about doing heats and stuff for other races, I think, but hopefully that goes well for you.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm just looking to survive, but we are second in our standings when we haven't finished worse than 11th. So if I can get 11th again, that'd be fantastic. Anyways, guys, that'll do it for us this week. Thanks. We had a lot of viewership this week, so thanks everybody for hanging out. And again, I'll put this and last week's episode on to my YouTube channel, which is just Kibbs Kibbs. If you type in Kibbs iRacing, I think it'll pop up.
Yeah, if there's stuff you guys want us to talk about, let us know. Ideas for guests. If you want to be on the show, let us know. We're both on the Discord. I'm sure you could probably even comment on this or Kenny's YouTube video, and hit us up there. I know you're on Twitch a lot, or not Twitch. You're on Twitch a lot, but Twitter a lot. I don't
Yep.
usually go on Twitter, but to see whatever Justin Prince says.
Yep. My Twitter is ng_Kibbs, just like my Twitch channel here. So yeah, hit us up if you want to be on or what you guys want us to talk about. So yeah, we'll talk to everybody next week, and have a good rest of your weekend and Godspeed.